So Keir Starmer's speech, the beginning of this week on Monday, is at the moment one of the finest examples I can think of in recent years of something that is good for business, as in the time that we spent together, the meat, the territory, the nutrition that we like to get our teeth into, but bad for the soul, as in it's a mark of something happening in the country that I would rather was not happening. It's a sign of something unfolding that I would rather was not unfolding. I hope you know where I'm going with this. So it's why there's a sort of curious dichotomy inside me when I turn up in the studio this morning knowing that I want to talk about a story that hasn't garnered a great deal of attention, but which is inextricably linked to the speech that Keir Starmer gave on Monday, and crucially to the fallout, the backlash, the unhappiness, not so much about the detail of the white paper, but very much about the choice of words, the specific choice of words that Starmer himself deployed during the speech. And I think most pertinently, the ones that we picked up on yesterday with Sir Sadiq Khan, the words like island of strangers, and for me, squalid. The squalid chapter. For me, it was the use of the word squalid that I found really unpleasant and profoundly unnecessary. It's not, for the record, and indeed, as I explained yesterday. And now you're sending me all the important stuff that happened in the period that I just described, and you're absolutely right. I'm an idiot. So let's accept that. Let's establish there beyond any reasonable doubt. I don't know, 1970, there's the Falklands. All right, there hasn't been a little period of time for a while in which nothing of importance happened. The Afghan and the Iraq wars, of course, that Putin now uses to justify Ukraine. Scratch that. Come up with your own era, when the historians of the future won't have much to write about. Because they've got a lot to write about now, and we've got a lot to talk about. And it's time to turn the attention to the people that Keir Starmer was talking about on Monday. We have worried at the knot of who he was talking to. We found out quite a lot yesterday. I don't know if you saw the polling that showed widespread support both for the tone and the language of that speech, both the content and the tone of that speech, YouGov polling. I suspect it's at its lowest among certain types of Labour voters. Well, me, I suppose. That the approval will be at the lowest among precisely the sort of people who somewhat idealistically, for want of a better word, think that Labour is their party or that Keir Starmer is their man. He made it pretty clear on Monday that he isn't. Alec yesterday was a caller, I thought, of great insight and courage. But all of our callers kind of pinned down something that Daniel Finkelstein writes about very powerfully in the Times today. And it's a form of tribalism. And it's a sense that people who aren't in your tribe are getting something that they don't deserve, and that people in your tribe are therefore being denied something that they do deserve. It's often not true. It's hardly ever true. But the politicians most effective at feeding that feeling are, the sort of Donald Trumps and Nigel Farages of this world. And it is an incredibly effective tactic. And the worse people feel their life is going, that the less they feel they're getting, instead of turning towards the people getting the most, they turn towards the people getting what they think should be rightfully theirs. And this isn't even a criticism. I mean, Finkelstein's piece brings vampire bats into it. I don't want to commit any spoilers, but it's a wonderful piece of writing, and it speaks directly to that queue that I talked about on Monday, the very widespread sense that you have queued up politely, Britishly, if you prefer. Because no one queues like a Brit. You have queued up and people are pushing in front of you. And that is the feeling, I think, that Keir Starmer was talking to. I really do. I think he has very deliberately targeted an emotion that I think is largely bogus, but also real. In other words, people really, really feel it, but the facts don't support the feeling, as is so often the case. I always think back to that caller many, many moons ago on this programme who said famously, "You can prove anything with facts, James," as if that was an insult. And I didn't register at the time what a profound moment that was in my education of how public opinion works. You can prove anything with facts. James, we had a caller earlier this week, furious that I asked him to tell me what he meant by a certain word. You're using a phrase like British culture very casually, but not being prepared to actually pin down what it means. And of course, it doesn't matter, because it's a feeling that is being felt that can't be articulated, or if it is articulated, it will sound unpleasant. I don't like them because they don't look like me. And I don't like the idea of people who don't look like me or people who don't belong to my tribe getting something that I don't get myself, or get some. The reason I haven't got X is because they're getting Y. The reason I'm struggling to pay my bills is because asylum seekers are staying in repurposed hotels. And that's why I can also be persuaded that they're actually living in 5-star luxury when they're living in nothing of the sort. Because if I knew how they were living, I'd know that that's unlikely to be having much of an impact upon my daily existence. So it's all there, isn't it? It's all there. The seeds of dissatisfaction being very carefully watered by Keir Starmer this week, and quite dangerously. We shall see where it leads. But it's not the language that I'm interested in today. It's the target. And we've talked a lot about who Keir Starmer was talking to, and we have perhaps a clearer picture. And it is a picture that includes the tribalism that Finkelstein writes about in the Times, the Q place, the Q members that I talk about a lot on this program. That's who he's talking to. But who is he talking about? And more pertinently, I think, is he talking about you? Because there's a tiny little story in one newspaper today. I may have appeared elsewhere, but almost half of foreign nurses, and this is according to recent research, I think conducted possibly before the speech even took place. I must double check that. No, it's subsequent to the speech. Almost half of foreign nurses plan to quit Britain because of its hostile immigration policy. And that explains the problem that successive politicians have had with this issue, doesn't it? It's a hostile immigration policy if you are a participant in it. It's open borders and uncontrolled if you are not. Keir Starmer electing to talk to the people in the latter category, but he's talking about the people in the former category. 55 international NHS nurses want to move away. And remember, this is a mobile population, language barriers notwithstanding. If they've already upped sticks and moved to a new country, then the ease of upping sticks and moving to a new country is much higher than it would be for somebody who's never made that leap. 42% of them blaming racism and Britain's unwelcoming attitude towards foreigners. This, as the Prime Minister's planned crackdown on immigration hasn't even got away. And again, the conundrum at the very heart of all these conversations, but one of the elements always studiously ignored by people feeding feelings while ignoring facts, is, as Professor Nicola Ranger of the Royal College of Nursing says, the NHS simply could not run without overseas staff. She's calling today on Sir Keir Starmer to waive red tape for nurses, as a succession of former Arsenal footballers moving to Britain from abroad. No, not nurses. And that is a tiny, tiny little nib on page 2, filed away in the basement of the Daily Telegraph. Half of foreign nurses intend to quit Britain. It should be slightly bigger news, shouldn't it? I mean, an intent is not necessarily the precursor to an action. But what does it mean to be the target of what Keir Starmer's talking about? Because the other phrase that helps enormously in the understanding of this tension, this eternal tension between facts and feelings, where the facts don't touch the sides of the feelings, the eternal tension, of course, is caught up in that phrase we first came across in 2016, that phrase, I don't mean you. Oh, I don't mean you. And Keir Starmer elevated that into an art form almost on Monday, talking about how much he values diversity and how important it is and the great role that immigration has played in this country. He's saying to some people here from elsewhere, oh, I don't mean you. I don't mean you. I mean the members of the squalid chapter. I mean the people turning us into an island of strangers. I don't mean you. As Sadiq Khan said yesterday, if you listen to the Prime Minister's speech, he also talked about diversity being a strength. But he said that after making it pretty clear how he felt about the language that the Prime Minister had deployed. I don't mean you. But how do you know that he doesn't mean you? And how does it feel to worry that he might?